Danger. Why does he only speak Italian? It's never poisoned me before. My life is falling apart. How soon can you get here? Conspiracy theory time. I still have no suspect because she saw an Italian movie once. Okay, welcome back. Happy New Year. It is January 1st. This is what I have decided to start 2026 with. I've decided to answer the call. I live in Seoul. I take the bus multiple times a day, and we have TVs on our buses. Every other commercial is for the movie The Housemaid. And I feel like the universe is challenging me. You know I love to be right. I love to predict things that happen in books. I have managed to avoid pretty much any spoiler. I genuinely don't know anything about this book, actually, other than it is, according to the trailer, two women that have similar looks, and I guess they fight. And I think one is a housemaid. So I feel like I have a rare opportunity here. I know one person in my life who reads Freida McFadden to the point where they've spoken to me about it. I might have friends who read it and have no comments, but I'm not exposed to anybody who loves her or hates her. I'm going in pretty fresh. Things that I might know, I feel like I've heard people say that they're a little ridiculous, they get a little formulaic, the fact that she pumps them out so frequently. But really, the only thing I know is the one person in my life who reads her says that, love her or hate her, you don't guess who done it. And I love to guess who done it. So on my birthday yesterday, what did I do but drag my husband to the mall so that I could purchase this ugly book. I despise book covers that become movie poster. I hate it so much. We are going to solve it today. I'm either going to start 2026 with a big ego boost because I figured out what happened, or I'm going to be humbled, and humility is great. So either way, we're just going to spend the freezing cold day where everything is closed inside. I might run out and get a coffee, but we're going to solve this thing. I have a presentation up. We've got more visual helpers this time. I'm going to list out anything that is a little bit suspicious. I recently read Remain by Nicholas Sparks and M. Night Shyamalan, of all people. That one was filled with, I love a good breadcrumb, I love a good hint, but these were like, they were waving flags in our faces. I'm going to mention anything that is suspicious. Why do we need to know that she has a cat allergy or something like that? You know, that's going to be put down. And then I recently read All Her Fault, which was good, fine. Because I heard there was a really big twist and you were not going to figure out who it was. I actually took notes on my phone at like what page I decided who done it. And it consistently changed. I was wrong. I'm happy to be humbled. I was incorrect. So I'm going to also list who my suspects are, exactly when. And then I have little sticky notes as well to mark up the book. So that being said, I literally just woke up. I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder and I look like I just woke up. That's fine. We're going to get coffee. Let me read to you the back of the book. Like I said, I know absolutely zero. I don't even know the characters' names. And in we go. Also, as I was looking up the cover to put on my presentation, I had no idea. This is like a series, kind of, I think. There's like The Housemaid, and then there's The Housemaid Wedding, and The Housemaid whatever. So does she live? Are there multiple housemaids? Was that a spoiler? I don't know. So anyway, in we go. It is about 325 pages. Let's make it worth it. This was well, hold on. Let me do the exchange rate. Okay, that's a little bit better. This cost me $13.50. This is why I love the library. Shout out to San Diego County Library, Philadelphia Free Library, and Libby. I don't even want to know how much money you saved me. But I wanted to mark this up and have a physical. So here we go. Let's read the back. Let's get going on our sleuthing. Also, before I get started, one thing I do know is that Freida McFadden, I believe, is a pseudonym, but her real life, she's like a very specialized brain surgeon or something. It just says here that she's a physician who lives in Boston with her family, but I'm pretty sure she's like a rare brain person. Anyway, well, there's a rabbit hole for you to go down. I'm not going to do that right now. In we go, back of the book. Every day I clean the Winchesters' beautiful house, top to bottom. I pick up their daughter from school, and I cook a delicious meal for the whole family before heading up to eat alone in my tiny room on the top floor. I try to ignore how Nina makes a mess just to watch me clean it up, how she tells strange lies about her own daughter, and how her husband, Andrew, seems more broken every day. But as I look into Andrew's handsome brown eyes, so full of pain, it's hard not to imagine what it would be like to live Nina's life. The walk-in closet, the fancy car, the perfect husband. I try on one of Nina's pristine white dresses once, just to see what it's like. She soon finds out, and by the time I realize my attic bedroom door only locks from the outside, it's far too late. But I reassure myself the Winchesters don't know who I really am. They don't know what I'm capable of. Okay. The book that I just read and mentioned, All Her Fault, is also about kind of like a nanny living in rich people's homes situation. So interesting. Are we going to have an unreliable narrator? This sounds like an unreliable narrator, but in we go. Ooh, but I like the first line. It starts off with a prologue. Also, this is a paperback. I'm going to be breaking the spine. So if that bothers you, leave now, because I'm so excited to have this be all ripped up by the end of this. Okay, prologue. If I leave this house, it will be in handcuffs. I should have run for it while I had the chance. Now my shot's gone. Now that the police officers are in the house and they've discovered what's upstairs, there's no turning back. They're about 5 seconds away from reading me my rights. I'm not sure why they haven't done it yet. Maybe they're hoping to trick me into telling them something I shouldn't. Good luck with that. In I go. I'm going to introduce the characters. But first, I'm going to go get a coffee. So, welcome to the Housemaid. Feel free to timestamp and whatever insert your suspects as well. I'm going to try and give you as much information as possible. There will be timestamps maybe if you want to jump around. I don't know how I'm going to structure this. In we go to the Housemaid. First prediction, what if the prologue is from Nina's POV, not the handmaid's? Anyway, handmaid whose name I don't know. In I go. Okay, exciting. 1 chapter in, prologue, 1 chapter done. Already got bullet points, already got suspicious things. I like the setup, but I always love the setup of a thriller. So the first couple chapters of a thriller will always hook me. Where are my notes? Okay, so this is told in Millie's POV. I don't know if it's going to be multiple POV. The chapters are labeled, and so maybe we'll get different POVs. Right now, so far, only Millie. I still don't know who was talking in the prologue, and I bet you, I don't know. Anyway, our characters who are introduced, we have Millie. I'm not going to believe a word she says. She admits that she has a carefully doctored resume. She doesn't do this normally. She seems like she's been out of a job. She's been living out of her Nissan for a while. And she said something about how she loves kids, but she hasn't really had a chance to be around them in the past 10 years, whatever that means. And she prepared for the interview by looking a very specific way. She comes in with giant tortoise shell glasses. Let's see. She's got dirty blonde hair and she just really, really wants a job. Okay. She says she's from Brooklyn. I'm not going to believe that, okay? Then we have Nina, and this is quite funny because Nina is described in the book very differently than how Amanda Seyfried looks in any of the footage I have seen. She is supposed to be kind of overweight. She's mentioned as having stocky legs, a double chin. She's got a bob right to her jawline, but she does have beautiful, shiny, golden blonde hair. What I have seen from Amanda Seyfried, gorgeous, long, blonde hair, looking as Amanda Seyfried looks all the time. So just a disclaimer there. And apparently Nina is also from Brooklyn, which is more believable, I would say. She is in her late 30s. She seems really just, excited. But then, so we get a tour of how beautiful this house is. They have a home theater. They have the home office, the bedrooms, the guest bedrooms, etc., etc. And then we get to the door to Millie's room, and it is much thicker wood than any of the other doors, and you get this like creepy dark stairwell that has no light, and then you get up there and it's the attic, and Nina's like, I hope you don't mind, like it's a finished attic, like it's, you know, not just like wooden floorboards that you're gonna fall through. But they get up there and it's like, you know, an attic has the slant of the roof, there's one tiny window, and I'll get back to that in a second. There's just like a twin bed and then two naked bulbs, not even like lamps, just like bulbs hanging from the ceiling. And immediately Millie gets bad vibes, which I understand. And she's like, I can't put my finger on it. Something is very wrong with this room. And she's kind of like, maybe it's the fact that there's a window. She says, I marked it down. She said, maybe it's the window. It looks out on the back of the house. If I were in trouble and trying to get someone's attention, nobody would be able to see me back here. I could scream and yell all I wanted. Nobody would hear. That's a weird thing to say, Millie. Nina is very much like, is this okay? Millie is like, this is better than the backseat of my 10-year-old Nissan. Let's do this. Obviously, Nina is going to check her references. Millie, she's not just going to let Millie into her home to care for her daughter, who we meet, by the way, our next character, Cecilia, little daughter. She's 9 years old. She's got, you know, the same light blue eyes and gorgeous blonde hair as Nina, whatever. But she's staring at me, staring right through my soul. Do you know those movies about the scary cult of like creepy kids who can read minds and worship the devil and live in cornfields or something? Well, if they were casting for one of those movies, this girl would get the part. They wouldn't even have to audition her. They would take one look at her and be like, yes, you are creepy girl number 3. She also said, there's at least a 25% chance she's going to murder me in my sleep if I get this job, but I still want it. So we have a creepy girl. She's not going to be on my suspect list, I don't think. I'm not going to put a 9-year-old on my suspect list. Okay, but she's creepy, so she gets points for that. I love creepy kids. And then our final character, as Millie is walking out, they had a great interview, but she knows she's not going to get the job because she's like, if Nina actually looks at my references, she's going to find out that it's fake. Like my resume is 100% fake. There's no way I'm getting this job. That was really nice to see how the other half lives. And as she's walking to her car, she notices the landscaper who has been working ever since she got there, like trimming the hedges, whatever. So she just goes to be like, hey, you know, like a normal person would when you pass another person. And he just stares at her. And she's just like, okay, nice to meet you too. And she keeps walking. I look back one last time at the landscaper in the yard, and he's still watching me. There's something in his expression that sends a chill down my spine. And then he shakes his head, almost imperceptibly, almost like he's trying to warn me. Okay, in terms of that suspicious, the one small window in the room, weird. Landscaper shaking his head, we know that. And then, because we know Millie's gonna get the job, why didn't Nina check her references? Okay, in terms of suspects, I got none. We haven't met the husband yet with the handsome brown eyes, but I'm excited. It's always the husband's fault, in my opinion. So let's go. Okay, 10% of the way through, we've got updates. This is interesting. I did not think, for some reason, I thought like from the get-go, the housemaid was gonna be the creepy evil one, but Nina is very clearly like the whack job from Millie's POV. So, right, I left you on our landscaper, who we now know is named Enzo, but we'll get to that. Chapter 2, we're with Millie in her car. She is sick of sandwiches. She has eaten too many goddamn sandwiches because they're cheap and easy to put together in the back of a car. And she gets a phone call from Munch Burgers telling her that she did not get the job. And this is a real blow to her because she's already assumed she's not getting the nanny job. But Munch Burger, she was like, girl, I was told that they would hire anyone. They were like, even if you had a record, you could get the job. Why is she bringing that up? Also, her full name is Wilhelmina, which her parents named her, but don't worry, she doesn't talk to her parents, or they don't talk to her, ever since 10 years ago. And why? Our girl was in prison for 10 years. How old is she? She hasn't really mentioned how old she is, but it seems like she's in her 30s as well. So like, was she 18. Like, what did she do at such a young age to be put in prison for 10 years? Curious. But yeah, so she doesn't get hired from Munch Burgers. She starts to cry in her car when she gets another phone call from Nina. And she's basically like, girl, I need help. She literally says, I have so much laundry to fold. When can you be here? So girly can't get a job flipping burgers at Munch Burgers, but Nina Winchester decides to hire her. Millie is assuming that Nina didn't check her references. I bet you Nina checked them up and down and was like, this is the girl that I need, for reasons unknown. Okay? Nina is like, my life is falling apart. How soon can you get here? Millie is like, I'll be there tomorrow. I have literally nothing to pack. So she gets there. Turns out Nina isn't there because she is driving Cecilia to school. So this takes place on Long Island, and excuse me. All of the houses in the area are gated. This is like the 5th time she's mentioned the electric gate around the house. Suspicious. Also, as she's looking up at the house, trying to figure out how to get the gate open, she mentions that it looks like the house has been freshly painted. But what do I know? I'm just a girl. I don't know anything about houses. So freshly paint, that's interesting. And then she sees the landscaper again and she's like, hello, can you let me in? Like, this is my first day of work. I don't know how to open the gate. He comes down and of course, he's pretty hot. Actually, she says, yeah, up close, I realize he's actually pretty hot. Looks to be in his mid-30s, thick, jet black hair, damp from exertion. He's got olive skin, rugged good looks. But his most striking feature is his eyes. His eyes are very black. Can't distinguish the pupil from the iris. And something about his gaze makes me take a step back. She's trying to be like, hello, like, can you help me out? And he starts spouting out Italian, or what Millie thinks is Italian because she saw an Italian movie once with subtitles. So anyway, she tries to speak to him and he's like, no English. And she's like, okay, great. Me. And then she starts like doing the pantomime, like, I work here, let me in, that kind of thing. He ends up letting her in. Like, he gets the gist. He opens the gate for her. And then he suddenly starts speaking like really urgently to her. And he says, well, first of all, he says, my name is Enzo. So there we go. And then he says, and I can't speak Italian. So he says something along the lines of piacere di conoscerti, he says. And she's like, okay, cool. Millie, he says again with his thick Italian accent. He looks like he has something to say, but he's struggling with the language. He hissed a word in Italian, but then they hear the front door unlock, Nina's home, and Enzo zips. He's gone, okay? But the word that she heard was pericolo. I don't know. To me, so hand over heart, I did not look this up because I want to experience it the same way that Millie is. I'm assuming context clues, okay? Peligrosa, pericolo, similar. Danger. But Millie is like, maybe he wants a soft drink. Pericola? I fear our girl does not have survival instincts. Anyway, Nina gets there and we discover Nina's secret. So when Millie came there for the interview, that house was spotless, gorgeous, okay? When they walk in today, pigsty. And Millie's like, oh, okay, I see why they need the housemaid. This is Nina's dirty little secret. She is a slob. Every bit of the counter is covered with stuff. It's just like icky. And Nina is like, you see why we need you, okay? Nina also buys Millie an iPhone because she's using like a flip phone because she doesn't have any money, right? So she gets an iPhone. Will that be tracked? Most likely. That will be monitored for sure. She's on the family plan, okay? But Millie is basically just like, thank you. Wow, I have access to the internet. This is wild. And then as we're going up to drop Millie's bags in her creepy ass attic room, Andrew Winchester comes out of his office. He's in a gray suit. And when he looks at Millie, he's like, who the fuck are you? Like, he looks really confused. Andrew is sort of like, what is going on? And Nina is like, I told you, I hired Millie. And Millie gets the vibe that Andrew doesn't know anything that goes on in this house. He goes to work. He's a little Nepo baby. Okay, he's super, super wealthy because he got a company from his dad and has doubled the profits since then. Whatever. So yeah, he does the outside stuff, Nina does the inside stuff. So he was just sort of like, okay, hi, nice to meet you. And this is where we start to see the red flags from Nina, because Millie says something like, nice to meet you, Mr. Winchester. And he says, oh, call me Andrew. And Nina said the same thing when she said, like, hi, nice to meet you, Mrs. Winchester. Nina was like, girl, call me Nina, please. But when Andrew is like, call me by my first name, her eye kind of starts to twitch. And she just kind of goes, Andrew, don't you need to be at work? Shouldn't you be leaving? Kind of snippy. And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry, I have a meeting in the city, gotta go, nice to meet you. Millie is like, oh, wow, your husband seems really nice. Nina slams the door after her husband, and that dark, suspicious look returns to her eyes. She's like, oh, you think so? Millie's like, well, yeah, how long have you guys been married? Like, seems like the interaction between them seemed really lovely, right? But instead of answering Millie's question, Nina just goes, where are your glasses? Because remember, for the interview, she came with like these ugly ass giant tortoiseshell glasses. And Millie just randomly is like, I have contacts. Instead of just saying she didn't need them, she panics and it's like, I wear contacts. And Nina's like, yeah, you should wear those more, kind of thing. That's odd. And like while she's saying this, Millie keeps noticing that like a muscle is twitching under her right eye and like all this stuff. Nina, okay. And then we finally make it up to the bedroom where she can drop her stuff off. And remember, she had a really bad feeling about the room. Turns out she notices this immediately. Page 25. She realizes the door only locks from the outside. And when she asks Nina about this, Nina's, because like this is her room that she's gonna be living in. She deserves to have a room that locks, right? Nina's like, oh yeah, sorry, we used this as a closet. So of course we locked it from the outside. Growing up, I never had locks on my closet. So like, I don't really know what that means. But anyway, so she's like, I don't, you know, we lost the key or like whatever. Blah, 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 blah. When Millie asks for a key, Nina kind of goes, well, what will you be hiding from us? Like, what could you possibly need a key for? And then she's like, just kidding, you know, weirdo. Okay, I don't really, part of me doesn't want to see the film, but I honestly would love to see Amanda Seyfried be creepy. I love that for her. He also mentions that the window seems to be newly painted again, okay? Newly painted over so that you can't actually open the window. So she does have a window, but she can't open it. And she says, this room could be a death trap. Nina finally leaves her alone. She closes the door, starts unpacking her things for a quick second when she notices at the back of the door, weird scratching marks. So that's creepy. Millie is like, oh, I'm just being paranoid, like I'm just freaked out because of this little tiny room. But there's also that, okay? She looks out her tiny window and sees that Enzo is still in the back working every day, all day, every day, it seems. And she realizes like, oh, I have the internet now with this new phone. I can look up what that word was. I type the word into the browser window. The signal must be weak up here in the attic because it takes a long time. Almost a minute has gone by when the translation of Pericolo finally appears on the screen of my phone. Danger. Okay, I'll add this. So we have the fresh paint, the phone plan, attic, the door lock. I'll add this. Danger. Why does he only speak Italian? Fresh paint, phone plan. What was the one other thing? Also just like Nina, but I don't need to add Nina being weird. Suspects, I don't have any yet. That's suspicious. Yep. Okay. And here are our characters. I continue. We're on page, for all her fault, I remember the first time I wrote down a suspect, it was around page 80. So I'm interested to see, like, this feels very, like, not just because of Sydney Sweeney, but like this does feel rather White Lotus-y, where you also don't know who died. You know somebody died. There's a dead body at the end. Maybe it's the dead body of the previous maid. Maybe she didn't kill anybody. Did I just call it on page 25? Anyway, no. I need actual evidence. Okay, I can't just be willy-nilly throwing things around. We continue. Conspiracy theory time. Okay, I'm gonna go over this one. Okay, I'm gonna pitch you an idea that I think is really insane. Okay, here we go. Chapter 4, she cleans the house. Takes her a hell of a long time because it is disgusting. It's only been a week since they've They had the interview and the house was really nice. So how did she have to do 3 loads in the dishwasher to clean? Like how did this mess come to be? Okay? But that's a story for another time. She starts getting dinner ready. She finds that there is some chicken breast that's being marinated, and it already has instructions written on the bag, like someone wrote it. And who would do that? So part of me is like, okay, they had a previous maid that got, let go, left or something a week ago, and then they hired our new girl, right? But I also want to offer this one as well. Andrew walks in. And he's super friendly. He's like, hey, wow, dinner smells great. Thank you so much. Millie is like, oh, also, I'm sorry. A whole other thing that happened. Cecilia comes home from school and is like, I'm hungry. I don't know what I like to eat. I'm an annoying child. And so Millie is like, okay, I'll just make what I usually had as a kid, which was like Ritz crackers, peanut butter, and a banana on top, like a sliced banana. Sounds delicious. Cecilia's deathly allergic to peanuts. And she starts screaming immediately. She's like, the maid is trying to kill me, Mom. Like, she tried to force me to eat peanut butter. Nina runs down and is like, how dare you? Like, you're trying to kill my child. Millie is like, no one told me that she has a life-threatening allergy. So that's crazy. But Nina insists that she told Millie. But also, why would you have peanut butter in the house? So Millie is like, okay, do you want me to throw out the peanut butter that is in your kitchen that's going to kill your child? And Nina says, no, we might need it. Anyway, fast forward a few hours later, dinner has been made. Andrew comes home. Millie says, like, you have a beautiful home. And Andrew says, oh, well, that's all thanks to Nina. Like, Nina keeps everything together, okay? To which Nina walks in looking gorgeous. And Millie is like, yeah, Nina does look really put together, okay? But, and here's where I offer you my conspiracy theory. Millie says, while I was cleaning, I took a few minutes to look at the photographs on the mantle. There's one of Nina and Andrew together from many years ago. And she looked so different then. Her hair wasn't as blonde, and she had on less makeup and more casual clothing, and she was at least 50 pounds thinner. I almost didn't recognize her, but Andrew looked exactly the same. Is Nina the former housemaid? What happened to the original Nina? Is it a different person? Does Andrew, because, oh my gosh, my conspiracy theory just went deeper. Because when we first meet Andrew, Millie actually says that I respect him for not choosing a 20-year-old supermodel to be his life partner because he's like super handsome, super rich. And she's like, yeah, actually, he's way hotter than Nina. Like, what's going on? What if Andrew finds beautiful women, takes them, and then ruins them? No, I don't know. There's something suspicious. I just don't think it's the same Nina. Or if it is, maybe Andrew like intentionally tries to make them not perfect anymore so that they like have to, if they want to stay within the same like wealthy circle where all of these icky rich men only marry beautiful skinny young things, I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's me working with no clues. So this lady is definitely not original Nina for sure. So she is insane. She literally destroyed her own kitchen. She was like emptying, she took out a carton of milk and just like emptied it onto the floor because she was looking for her parent-teacher association notes that she apparently lost or something. And then anyway, it's crazy. Andrew sees this all happening and is like, yeah, I know she's kind of a nut, but like she has a good heart or whatever. So we get just a lot of Nina doing crazy things and then screaming at Millie for them. What else did I write down? She apparently went to prison when she was 17 and she worked at a bar. She keeps mentioning this bar that she worked at. So that was her only job prior to being this now. But Nina has this trash bag and she's like, can you go take these dresses to be donated? I can't fit in them anymore. I've gained some weight. And then when she finds out that she's actually, all of these dresses are in Millie's size, she's like, oh, well, you just take them. You don't have nice things.
I don't have a problem. I've got love and a family. What have you got?
So now Millie has like all of Nina's old clothes. Cecilia is a brat, by the way. We hate Cecilia. 9-year-old, ugh, okay? But Cecilia is absolutely not Nina's baby. I am 100% certain of that because Millie is like, oh, well, you know, like, let me know if you ever want your dresses back, right? And Nina's like, yeah, that's so funny, haha. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be dropping any dress sizes soon, especially since Andy and I are having a baby. And Millie's like, oh my God, you're pregnant? Yay. Like, maybe that's why you have so many fucking mood swings. And Nina says, not yet. We've been trying for a bit, but no luck. But we're both really eager to have a baby. And we've got an appointment with a specialist soon. So I would guess within the next year, there will be another little one in the house, blah, blah, blah. The way that she says that, like, we're eager to have a baby. She doesn't say another baby. She just says a baby. What if? Yeah. No, I'm not going to go to a conspiracy theory. But yeah, I do not think that Nina is Andrew's first wife or Cecilia's mom. What if Andrew isn't even Andrew? Anyway, those are my updates. Oh my. We are 100 pages in, 30% of the way through I got to chapter 20. The writing style, I'm glad that I'm reading this for you. Let's just say that. The writing style is really like just the very short sentences. I looked at Enzo. Enzo looked nice. He's wearing a white shirt and jeans. He looks hot. I prefer Andrew's look. Like that for 100 pages has been a lot. Going quickly through what has occurred since I last talked to you. Nothing much, just a lot of Nina being insane and Cecilia also being insane. So they'll do this thing where they'll tell her like, I need you to go pick up a watermelon. And then she goes to the grocery store and brings back a watermelon. And Nina is like, I hate watermelon. You're wasting my money. I should just fire you. Kind of thing. She does this, and Cecilia does this as well. Like, I want a bologna sandwich. And then she's like, I hate bologna. Over and over and over again. Okay. At one point, Nina asks Millie to pick Cecilia up from school. And so she gets to school and is trying to take Cecilia home. And Cecilia's like, no, I always go home with, like, I have to go to karate class. I go with my friend's mom. Sure enough, like, they call Nina and Nina's like, why would you think I would want you to pick up Cecilia today? Even though she like had called her maybe 15 minutes prior. All very strange. And all the moms at this school are very much the kind of people who are like, ugh, the help. It's so hard to find good help these days, etc., etc., etc. So everybody's shitty. The only nice person, which is a red flag for me, is Andrew. Anyway, we also have a moment where she has insomnia. So Millie comes down. She's like, everybody's asleep. I might as well watch a little TV. She watches Family Feud. Andrew comes down to drink water and Nina catches them watching Family Feud. And it's like this whole thing. Okay. One tiny thing I noticed, which I will add to my that's suspicious board, is that when Andrew came down to get water, he got water from the sink, which is to me pretty normal, but Millie notices and she's like, why didn't you get water from the really expensive water purifier you guys have? And he's like, I don't know. It's never poisoned me before. Dun dun dun. Why do I feel like there's some kind of medicine or something has been tampered? The water has been tampered with. Another one of my conspiracy theories. But when Millie was at school trying to pick up Cecilia, she overheard some of the moms talking and they talked about how Nina is like actually insane. Their words, not mine. And so the next time Millie cleans the bathroom, she checks the medicine cabinet. And sure enough, there's a ton of antipsychotic medication, like things that treat schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, delirium, agitation, acute psychosis. There's like dozens of pill bottles. The pill bottles are Nina's or whoever Nina Winchester is. So there's that. Okay, she's taking a lot of medication, and I just think the water thing was weird, okay? Also, she has a meeting with her parole officer named Pam. I'll maybe add Pam to the list. Yeah, she has to go to parole meetings. Turns out the bar that she worked at, that was after jail. So she's been out of jail for a little bit, it seems. So she worked at a bar. She got fired from that bar and didn't tell the parole officer. She like agreed with the bar owner to not get the police involved because whatever happened at the bar to cause her to be fired, even though she says it was unfair, would have caused her to be sent back to jail to serve the rest of her sentence. So she was actually sentenced to 15 years in prison. She was 17. Still no answers as to what that was. Also, another weird thing about Cecilia, like how Nina and Cecilia both tell her things and then say the opposite. Surprise, Cecilia isn't allergic to peanut butter. Andrew's like, who told you that? Because when he came down for water, he's like, I also kind of want a snack. Would it be totally gross if I just ate peanut butter straight from the jar? And Millie's like, as long as you don't kiss Cecilia goodnight. And he's like, what? So there's that. And part of my conspiracy theory, the plot thickens, okay? Cecilia is not Andrew's biological daughter. He said that he met Nina right after Cecilia was born, and he's the only father she's known. And they're trying for a baby because Andrew wants to have like a dozen kids. There we go. Okay. He also says she looks like Nina, not that she like takes after Nina. I don't know. I'm still not convinced that anyone is who they say they are at this point. I'm not believing a damn thing. Nina also holds some kind of meeting for the PTA. They're trying to plan some kind of school activity. So they meet at Nina's house. They are shitty people. They are all so shitty. Talking about Millie like she's not there. Then when she calls Nina, she's like, Millie, I'm not one of your friends you go drinking with. Call me Mrs. Winchester. Like crazy things, right? Millie can never do anything right. But she happens to overhear more of the women speaking. Like two of the women go in to use the restroom and Millie follows them. And she overhears them talking shit about Nina and how like, God, she's gaining so much weight. She's really letting herself go. Like, I don't know how she keeps such an attractive husband. And like her roots are showing, which is interesting. She has like really dark roots, which is, I don't know, something to take note of. Again, I don't think Nina is Nina, so the hair dye makes sense. And then one of them says, well, I'm not going to be the one to tell her she needs to go on a diet. God, I don't want to send her back to that mental institution. So she's already been in a mental institution. Also, just like full disclaimer, I do not like how anyone is talking about anything. Like even Millie, the things that she says is just dumb. Like the way that she thinks about women, and like I just don't like anybody, to be completely fair. Also, she has like not had any physical contact because she's been in jail for 10 years and she was 17 when she went in. So she's very like flustered whenever she sees a man. And she's sort of like, I gotta blow off this steam somehow. All of this sexual tension that I've been holding for 10 years. So she tries to hit on Enzo. Enzo is immediately like, get the fuck away from me, girl. Like, what are you talking about? So she's feeling very embarrassed about that. But that's sort of it. We just discovered Nina and Andrew had a meeting with a fertility specialist, and it turns out Nina cannot have kids, which is very sad. And Millie heard them fighting late one night, so she like ran down because something crashed. And so she ran down to check if everything was okay, and she sees that Nina's hand is bleeding, and it's just weird. But she has now been forced. She needs to stay in her attic at night. If she comes down, shit's gonna hit the fan. So she stays up in the attic every night. She can't come down and watch TV. She can't come down and check if people are killing each other. She told Nina about the window not opening, and Nina was kind of like, that doesn't sound like my problem. Millie is like, that's kind of a fire hazard, and Nina's like, okay. So is there gonna be a fire? Probably. And the last detail is just that the door catches, like the door is sticky. So the first time it happened, when Millie was trying to get out of the room, she thought that Nina locked her in, but it turns out you just kind of need to jiggle it and it opens. But you know, at some point she's going to try and open the door and it's not going to open. And yeah, so far it's just been like, Nina is a really infuriating person, but it hasn't felt like scary yet. Nina is just constantly saying that I'm going to fire you. And Andrew is like, oh, you know, she's just high strung. Anyway, I will continue once I find anything interesting happening, but so far it's just like a repeat of Nina and Cecilia being brats. Also, I wonder, is Millie already drugged? Because she seems to feel like there's no way that you can make this much of a mess in the time that she thinks has passed. And I'm like, what if Millie is actually like sleeping every other day? No, that's too much. That's too much. I still have no suspect for who has died and who has done the killing, so I will continue. Okay, folks, I hate everyone in this book. I hate absolutely every single person in this book. I'm not rooting for anyone. Whoever dies, I honestly don't really care. Updates. When did I leave you? I have now read about 40 more pages. I am almost at 50%. Wow, I hate Andrew. He is trying to be portrayed as like Mr. Nice Guy. Absolutely fucking not. For one thing, we learn why Nina was sent to the quote unquote loony bin. Okay, not my words. To give her credit, Millie also doesn't like the use of that word. Turns out she tried to drown Cecilia. So remember when I was saying like, oh, I think the water is poisoned? Apparently Nina like drugged Cecilia, tried to drown her, and then also tried to kill herself by eating a lot of pills. And I want to know the timeline of this because Cecilia was a baby when this happened, and Andrew, like they were already living in Andrew's house. They were already together. So I don't know how that worked. Anyway, Andrew was just like worried that they weren't picking up the phone. And so he called the police. And so they very last second were able to save both of them. So that's why she went to the quote unquote loony bin. Okay. But then we have another one of those situations where Nina tells Millie something and then immediately is like, no, that's completely wrong. Because she learned that she was not going to be able to have kids, Andrew was like, I want to cheer her up. I want to take her to this Broadway show she won't shut up about. Ask her for what dates work for her. Buy the tickets. Money doesn't matter. We'll go. So she does this. Nina tells her the dates. She buys the tickets. It's very exciting. And right before it's supposed to happen, Nina's like, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Like this week is going to drag forever. And Millie's like, no, it's not next weekend. It's this weekend. And Nina's like, no, I very distinctly told you. Anyway, you understand. So she can't go. She's driving Cecilia to sleepaway summer camp up in Massachusetts. So Nina's going to have to stay overnight up there with her. She simply cannot go. And like, if you can't get a refund on those tickets, it's coming out of your salary kind of thing. Andrew overhears this. Andrew's like, I've got it. I'll call our credit card company. We'll figure this out. I'll get the refund. Spoiler, he doesn't get the refund. And as Nina leaves to go drive Cecilia to summer camp, Andrew's like, listen, Nina's going to be gone. She's not going to know. If you and a friend want to use these tickets and we have a hotel reservation at the plaza, go ahead. Like, please don't let these go to waste. And Millie's like, I don't have friends. She's like, I've never seen a Broadway show. Oh my God, I would love to. But like, I don't have anyone to go with. It doesn't feel right. Like I'll stay home. To which Andrew, the piece of shit that he is like, no, oh my God, absolutely. Like, I'll take you. I would love to be, like, I'd love to see someone see their first Broadway play, right? So he, sure enough, drives her in. Like, she doesn't have anything fancy enough to go to a Broadway play in, so she has to use one of those dresses that Nina gave her. So she's looking all hot. They go to the Broadway show. They have a great time. They go get dinner. And Andrew is saying things that, like, you just don't share with, number one, your employee, and number two, like, anyone. I don't know. He just, like, talks a lot of shit about Nina. He talks about, like, he gets a phone call from Nina during dinner, and he's like, I love Nina, but I just can't figure out how my marriage got this way. She used to be different. Now she doesn't do anything except complain. She doesn't have any interest in working. She spoils Cecilia, and the worst part is, ... And then the waiter interrupts him. But like, don't say that. You don't need to say that about your wife to other people. He also says that right before he met Nina, he was engaged to someone else. Interesting. And then he talks about how they like haven't slept together in so long, blah, blah, blah. To his credit, he does realize that he overshared. And he's like, I shouldn't have said that. That was all in bad taste. I'm like, yeah, sir. And they're like, why don't we head home? They have had way too much to drink. He cannot drive home. The idea was that he was just going to drive her there and back. They weren't going to stay over. Now they need to. Why? He is like, why don't I just get us 2 rooms at the plaza? For that amount of money, why not just get an Uber back to Long Island? Honestly, like, what are you doing? But sure enough, they're drunk in the cab. She like falls over or something. A cab takes a corner too hard. And sure enough, he kisses me. And God help me, I kiss him back. So yeah, they sleep together, yada, yada, yada. He's like, I don't regret it, but like, can't happen again. That was really nice. Can't happen again. That's that. They get home well before Nina. And when Nina comes home, she's like, why didn't you answer the phone? Like, I called the house at 11 p.m. and nobody answered. Millie's like, okay, I don't have a phone in my room and I'm not supposed to come out of the attic at night. And I like can't hear anything up there. I'm so far away from everybody. What do you mean? I didn't hear the phone. Sorry. And she's like, well, Andrew didn't pick up either. And so Millie texts him, just a warning, Nina called the house last night. But as I told you, Nina is monitoring Millie's phone. I am 100% certain that she can read the text messages she sends. That's where we are right now. Okay. I don't like any of them. I think they're all bad. That's suspicious. I'm adding that to my list of suspicious things. Enzo technically does the landscaping for everyone in the neighborhood, and Andrew doesn't like him because apparently he totally understands more English than he lets on. And also Andrew is fluent in French, so I feel like he could make an effort to understand Enzo's Italian. Like if I studied Spanish and French, I can understand enough written Italian to like guess. So I know he could too if he's fluent. Anyway, but he doesn't like Enzo because yeah, he pretends he doesn't know English allegedly, and then he seems to spend the most time on their house. Millie is like, well, to be fair, you do have the biggest yard, so he has the most work to do here. But Andrew's like, no, I don't like this guy. He spends way too much time working on our back garden. He says something about like Nina insists that he's the best. Like we need to keep him. And Millie's like, that's really weird because Enzo hates Nina. Like Enzo literally runs when Nina is around. I don't know what that is, but like, is he hiding a body? Is he searching for a body? Why is he digging in the backyard all the time? Okay, off we go. Using the past tense to say that you loved your wife. Not so great. Again, I'm still thinking, who is this woman? But yeah, Andrew's mom just sent him a care package of like baby goodies. So she doesn't know that they can't have babies yet. And he's like, yeah, I loved her. It's fine. I mean, I love her. You will never catch me being on Team Andrew. Mark my words, okay? I'm on page 175, just past the 50% mark. Nina's just doing her random weird shit. Like she sent Millie to the store and then called the security guard to be like, I think I see somebody shoplifting in your store, so that he would like harass Nina. She also apparently found the playbill from the Broadway show. Like she snoops in Millie's room all the time. So she found proof that she went to go see the play. So that's why she dropped that bomb of like, I knew you were in prison the whole time, which is weird that she would hire someone to watch her daughter and live in her home who she knew was in prison. We still don't know why she was in prison, by the way. So now she's like holding that over her, being like, I'm not just going to fire you. I'm going to call the police and you're going to be put back in prison, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, we get one more time when Millie comes down for water. She still hasn't drank the 3 tiny water bottles that are in the mini fridge that Nina gave her on the first day. Let's just put a pin in that. But she comes down at some point to get water during the night, and Andrew is like having a beer and they make out again. And Nina absolutely sees. So then at one point she's yelling at Millie for something again, threatening to call the cops, when Andrew is like, we're done, Nina. Like, get out of the house. We did like a super tight prenup. I own this house. I'm allowing you to live here. No. You've been married to this woman for like 9 years and you're telling her that you allow her to live in this house? Absolutely the fuck not. Like, I don't care if you don't love her anymore. That kind of language. And he's literally like, it's a summer thunderstorm. And he's like, pack your bags, get out. So she packs her bags. She gets out. And this has been like maybe 3 months. Maximum 3 months that they have been working, like she's been living and working with them. She is like obsessively in love with him, and he apparently is too. And so the second Nina pulls out of the driveway, and remember, Cecilia's at sleepaway camp, okay? The second she's out of the driveway, Andrew like pounces on Millie. They've been dancing around each other for weeks. all this sexual tension. They finally get some time alone. So then the next morning, she wakes up in their bed, Nina and Andrew's bed, and she says hello, and he says, quote, "I love waking up next to you instead of her." This guy makes me feel sick. Like, Nina is actively evil, but Andrew is a shitty person as well. Mark my words. Also, Millie just isn't nice. She also keeps saying, like, I will never go back to prison. She's like, I will do anything to not be sent back to prison. So what's she gonna do? Is she going to take on Nina's identity? What's up with Enzo? We haven't heard about Enzo in a while. Who's Antonia? 50% of the way through, and I just don't even know, like, who would be dead? Is Andrew dead? I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I just don't know who in this situation would be dead and who would be the suspect at this point. Which is like kind of fun because it's fun not knowing, but also like I love guessing and I love being kind of thrown off. And so far I'm like not thrown off. Millie is scared that Nina's going to come and attack her, but I think that's too obvious. Nina killing Millie, I don't think that's going to happen. Millie killing Nina and assuming her identity, but then who the fuck would want to be Cecilia's mom? No offense, Cecilia, but I wouldn't want to be your mother. Maybe it's Andrew. Maybe it's Enzo. Obviously, one of the PTA moms calls and is like, wow, you're so nice to like let her track you all the time. And Millie's like, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, my bad. You didn't know. Speak of the devil. Oh my God. I asked where Enzo was. Enzo shows up the next chapter. Andrew, piece of crap. As I've stated many, many times, emotional support gingerbread man. So he's basically like, don't worry about doing the cleaning or the cooking or whatever. Like, I really want to date you and I can't date you if you are my maid. So stop doing stuff around the house. Okay. I'm positive he did this to Nina. Like, I'm so sure that okay, Andrew's my number one suspect. I can't pinpoint the exact moment when I decided that he's a shitty, evil person. I don't think he's a suspect in terms of he's the one who did the killing, but I think he's the shitty person in this whole thing, okay? But he's like, stay in bed, I'll go down and make breakfast. So he runs downstairs. Millie follows him a while later, and he's looking outside, like really disturbed. And she's like, what's up? And he's like, that fucking gardener. He's always in our yard. I'm sick of this. Okay. And remember, it was Nina who was keeping Enzo on staff. So he runs out and he's like, I'm done with you. He's like, ciao, Enzo. And Enzo's like, okay, bye. And he starts packing up his shit. When Andrew walks back into the house, Enzo grabs Millie and he says, his dark eyes are wide as they stare into mine. Millie, he says, you must get out of here. You are in terrible danger. My mouth falls open, not only because of what he said, but because of how he said it. Since I've been working here, he hasn't managed to string together more than a couple of English words. And now he said 2 entire sentences. And not just that, but the Italian accent that's usually so thick that I can barely understand him, far more subtle. The accent of a man who's very comfortable with English. Millie's like, no, Nina's gone. It's okay. And he says, no. He shakes his head firmly, his fingers still wrapped around my arm. You're wrong. She's not. And then Andrew interrupts him. Okay, Andrew's like, Millie, are you coming? I think we're supposed to think Nina's not really gone, but I think he's trying to say Nina's not the crazy one, but maybe Freida's tricking me and she wants me to think that Nina's way too obvious of an evil person, way too obvious of a villain to throw me off. Maybe she just is. I do hope we find out who Antonia is, though. If Enzo's gone, then I'm going to be sad because that was a mystery I wanted to solve. Have I told you how much I love being right? Because I love being right. She comes home. She's had a shitty day, okay? She just learned that she's being tracked. She's getting calls from a weird blocked number. When she finally answers it, it's this like mechanical voice that's like, stay away from Andrew Winchester. So she decides she's going to leave this attic room. She's like, I'm dating the man of the house. I shouldn't be living in this shitty attic anymore. It's July on Long Island and I can't open my window and I don't have air conditioning. This is actually torture. So she gets some suitcases. She starts to pack up her shit And Andrew comes up to the attic and she's like, oh, explains. And he's like, yeah, actually, I was going to ask you if you wanted to move downstairs. That's absolutely super fine. But like before that, let me help you forget your bad day. Okay, so they like do it in the attic. She wakes up, notices that her cot is empty. Remember, she has like a shitty bed. She's like, that's weird. Andrew's not there anymore. And she's like, honestly, can't blame him for relocating. This bed sucks. Okay. She needs to use the bathroom. So she gets up, tries to open the door. It's sticky as usual. So I turn it more firmly. It still doesn't turn. Panic mounts in my chest. I press myself against the door, the scratch marks in the wood splintering into my shoulder. I try once again to turn it clockwise, but it doesn't budge. Not even a millimeter. And that's when I realize what's going on. The door isn't stuck. It's locked. I bet you Andrew did it. I bet you Andrew. Oh, wow. Okay. Then there's part 2. I didn't know that there were 2 parts. Part 2. Is it going to be in a different PO? It is. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I read part 2, which is a little over 50% of the book. Then we get to page 192, which is Nina's POV. I don't know if this is going to be some kind of Gone Girl situation where like she's acting crazy and trying to get kicked out of this crazy situation. So like that's why she's gaining weight. That's why she's not taking care of herself, is that she wants Millie to take her place so that she can be free from creepy ass Andrew. Okay, that's why she gave her the dresses so that she could look like her. I wonder why she's curious about the glasses though. It all comes back to the glasses. Why does she want Millie to wear the glasses? Okay. Well, anyway, I'm really happy that this is going to be in Nina's POV now because I was getting really bored of being in Millie's lovesick Andrew Fest head. But let me read you our first Nina POV. If a few months ago someone had told me I'd be spending tonight in a hotel room while Andy was at my house with another woman, the maid, I wouldn't have believed it. But here I am, dressed in a terry cloth bathrobe I found in the closet, stretched out in a queen-size hotel bed. I've got my phone out. I click on the app I've been using for the last several months. Find my friends. I wait for it to tell me the location of Wilhelmina Millie Calloway, but under her name it says location not found. She must have figured it out. Smart girl, but not smart enough. She takes out a picture that she has of Andrew from her purse and she lights it on fire and throws it into the sink. And she smiles. My first real smile in almost 8 years. I can't believe I finally got rid of that asshole. I knew it. I knew it. Feels good. I'm always on the wife's side. Always on the wife's side. Okay, in my dream world, Nina and Millie are actually working together to get rid of Andrew. But being in Millie's POV, it seems like that's not true. But I wish she was Elena. Because apparently, like, women can only work at bars. Everybody has a job at a bar. But that would be the dream ending. Nina met Andrew when she was a million people under him, his employee's secretary. And he was super nice and handsome. Wait, okay, she's leisurely working on a PhD in English, but she's also like, my baby is gonna need shots for diseases she doesn't even have, aka vaccines. I'm like, are you an anti-vaxxer, Nina, or are you just being funny? Like, what? This is so bizarre. She's such an odd woman. As predicted, Andrew's a piece of shit. So basically he marries her, like first date, right? Takes her on a first date and he is immediately like, I am looking for a wife and I would like you to be that wife. And she's sort of like, great. I have a daughter that I need to support. This is wonderful. Seems like a nice dude, whatever. The mom is a little crazy, but like nobody likes their mother-in-law, blah, 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 blah. So they get married really quickly. It's about 3 months into the marriage. She's like, feels like a dream. Love this guy. Can't believe this is my life. Then she misses a hair appointment because she's a new mother and you see a little bit of the roots. And Andrew mentions it. And she's like, oh my God, yeah, duh, I'll get that done. My bad. Whoops. And then he mentions like, by the way, I'm really busy. Could I show you where I keep some of my stuff so that like, if I might ask you to grab some of my paperwork while I'm at work, like if I need you to look something up, could I show you where I keep all my stuff? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. He takes her up to the attic, which she's never been there before because she's scared of attics. And why would she go up in the attic? He locks her in there. Surprise, surprise. And he's only going to let her out. He needs her to like recognize the consequences of her actions of like not having perfect hair. And he's only going to let her out if she pulls out 100 strands of hair with the root. He wants to see the follicle. And he counts. Like, she has to slide an envelope under the door, and she has to do it a couple times because apparently a couple of them were missing the fall. Crazy stuff, okay? Then she has been no food. She only has those 3 little water bottles, and she was up there for like a couple days. And she's like postpartum. She is weak, okay? So he gives her like Advil, like something that looks like Advil, right? And is like, you need to rest. Like, why don't you go to bed? Kind of thing. And she's so weak that she can't argue. So she just gets in bed, immediately falls asleep. She wakes up to a bunch of texts on her phone that are like, I can't get a hold of you. I'm so worried. Are you okay? Please answer me. And she gets this really weird feeling in her gut and she runs to her baby's room and she's not there, but she hears the bathtub running. So she goes into the bathroom. Her baby is like propped up in the bathtub, drugged, and the bathtub is filling up. As she is trying to get the baby out of the bathtub, a man runs in, like a paramedic, to save the baby. And so what has been framed as the mother tried to drown the child, like drugged her, whatever, and then tried to kill herself by taking drugs. Andrew drugged both of them and like called the police to like frame her. She gets sent to a psychiatric ward for 8 months. And in that time, she fully like believes that she was crazy. She believes that she hallucinated this. She's like, how could I come up with something like that? Like, Andrew locked me in an attic and wanted my hairs? Like, what the hell? So she's kind of like, maybe this was a dream. Maybe I did have a mental breakdown. So she gets home and we get like a brief mention of the mom seems to be also really weird. Andrew seems really obsessed with like pleasing her, and she is kind of similar to Andrew and then how eventually Nina acts, which is like, you left a light on, you're draining the planet's resources. Or like, your house is a mess, you left a glass out on the counter or something like that. And Andrew's really affected by this. And like, Nina still loves Andrew, right? So his mom calls him out for like leaving a light on. She was babysitting and she was like, I noticed there was a light on upstairs. That's really, you're ruining the earth. And Nina decided to take responsibility for it. She was like, I'm sick of Andrew being yelled at. I'll just tell her that I did it, even though Andrew definitely left that light on. Fast forward to that night, he takes her to the attic and like, because her therapist was like, I think you have this irrational fear of the attic. Why don't you go up there and realize that like it was all a hallucination? Like, take baby steps, but like basically deal with your trauma by looking it in the eye. So they go up there together and he locks her in the attic again because she left the light on and wasted energy, even though she didn't. Ugh. Anyway, so it's things like that, okay? And this has been going on for 8 years. Sometimes there are like 6 months go by and she doesn't get put in the attic. Sometimes it's every other month. And Cecilia's kind of in on it. Like, she doesn't really understand, but she knows that like if she doesn't do everything that Andrew says, her mom is going to get punished. So that's why she wears, like, I didn't really mention it, but like Cecilia wears weird clothes, like frilly dresses that don't make sense for a 9-year-old girl who like plays soccer and does karate and gets dirty. Like, she wears a lot of like white fluffy dresses and it doesn't make sense. Also, I'm sorry, girl, she is allergic to peanuts, but like not deathly, but she'll get rashes. And so sometimes to teach her a lesson, Andrew will like put peanut butter in her food and she'll get really itchy, but she can't throw out the jar of peanut butter because Andrew gets really mad about that. So, okay. And then for our last thing, how does Enzo fit into this? Okay, why is Enzo so scared of Nina? Blah, blah, blah. Enzo, as we have mentioned, everyone believes Enzo can't speak English because Enzo tells people that he can't speak English. And so she decides, like, maybe this is the one person I can confide in, because anytime she makes a friend, Andrew will like pull them aside and be like, listen, I want you to be real careful around my wife because she's a Looney Tune and she was in the psychiatric ward and like blah, 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 blah. So then they like all kind of treat her different and they don't believe anything she says. So she's like, okay, Enzo, he has to keep my secrets because he doesn't understand them. And so she just like goes up to him one day and is like, my husband is a monster and he locks me in an attic and he tortures me. And Enzo's like, are you okay? And she's like, oh shit. And she runs away. That's where we're at. Okay, we are at exactly, I've got 25% left. We are at exactly 75%. Who do I think is gonna die? I sure hope Andrew gets killed. I think that Nina and Millie are gonna team up, and I hope that Andrew dies. Or Evelyn. I hope one of the Winchesters dies. But yeah, if this was the twist of it all, I wasn't shocked. Creepy attic, weird ass husband. Okay, Enzo does play a bigger role. So because he understood what she was saying, the next time she gets locked in the room and he happens to be in the backyard and she looks out the window, he comes running into the house trying to save her. And she's like, no, you're just gonna make it worse, blah, blah, blah. So they end up, anytime she's alone, talking, and she tells him everything. And he's like, listen, my sister Antonia, we get to learn who Antonia is, she also had a horrible husband and was killed because of it. And so like this is very personal to me. Like if I can help you, that will kind of help me feel like I've helped my sister as well, right? So he tries to help her run away. He arranges for fake passports, fake birth certificates, because she of course is taking her daughter with her, and they're gonna get plane tickets and fly somewhere. I don't know. But of course, Andrew finds out because he's got like cameras everywhere or something. So he finds out she's under lock and key. Like, there's no way she's gonna run away. So she decides, well, then I just need to find a replacement. Is that she wants Millie to take her place so that she can be free from creepy ass Andrew. And so everything that she did in the first half of this book was to get Andrew and Millie to fall in love with each other. So the whole reason that Andrew even really noticed Nina in the beginning is because her boss like humiliated her in front of a boardroom meeting, and Andrew like is really attracted to victims, I guess. And so that's why she would constantly be humiliating Millie, because Andrew felt like he was a protector and like blah, blah, blah. And she arranged for them to buy the Broadway tickets without like on the wrong day, blah, 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 so that they would go into Manhattan. She arranged this whole thing. And so when Andrew kicks her out, she's like, awesome, great, bye. And she runs off. Enzo comes in. Enzo's in love with Nina also, by the way. And so they have their moment. And then he's like, listen, Nina, I love you. I'm so glad that you escaped, but like, I'm not leaving Millie there. He was like, I can't on good conscience leave another woman to the fate that I'm trying to help you escape from. We got to go back for her. And so now we enter part 3. We're back in Millie's POV. She just got locked in the attic for the first time. We've got 50 pages left. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but like all I can do is hope that Andrew's dead. Millie gets punished. Okay, and remember, there's like nothing in that room except for the bucket. Did I mention that? There's a bucket in the closet, and that bucket is for relieving yourself because she can't go to the bathroom, okay? But there's like nothing else in the room. When she finally like does the task that he is asking of her, he wants her to, she like took books off of his bookshelf and didn't put them away correctly or something. And that's why she needs to be punished. And so he brought like 3 really big books, and he's like, I want you to lay on the ground with these books on your stomach for 3 hours. And of course she like doesn't, she thinks he's kidding, like blah, blah. Once she finally realizes it, it's been like a couple days, she does it. She's pissed. He opens the door to let her out, and that's when she grabs the pepper spray that she found in the closet. So one of the torture exercises that Andrew did for Nina was that she like used too much air freshener in the bedroom and it bothered his eyes. So he made her pepper spray herself. And I guess she must have hid the pepper spray somewhere in the closet. And so now we're back in Nina's POV. And she says that, yeah, she did do background checks before she hired Millie to look after her daughter, right? And the reason Millie was in jail, which is bananas to me, I don't think this would hold up in court. But anyway, apparently Millie went to a boarding school for children who had anger issues, disciplinary problems. Okay, so she already had a record by the time she was in high school because, like, if people did something to her, she would push back, right? Like, she pushed a kid off of the monkey bars and broke his arm, or she slashed the tires of her math teacher's car because he gave her a failing grade and blah, blah, blah. So she already kind of had a record. She's at this school and she sees that her friend is being sexually assaulted by this like massive football playing kind of guy. And so Millie grabs like a paperweight and just smashes his skull multiple times and kills him. And so she gets sent to jail for 15 years is her sentencing, but she serves 10, gets out. But that makes her the perfect candidate for this job because Nina doesn't want someone that Andrew's just going to fall in love with. Here's the truth. I initially wanted to hire a maid in hopes she would become my replacement, that if Andrew fell in love with another woman, he would finally let me go. But that's not why I hired Millie. That's not why I gave her a copy of the key to the room. That's not why I left a bottle of pepper spray in the blue bucket in the closet. I hired her to kill him. She just doesn't know it yet. Yes! I love it when the women team up. Okay. Oh no, unfortunately I'm gonna have to film my live reaction to the last 20 pages because I think I screwed up. So Millie, with the pepper spray, manages to get Andrew in the attic and locks him in there. In order to get revenge, she starts torturing him. He needs to also balance the books on him and like blah, 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 blah. He doesn't have any water, etc., etc., etc. He's begging her to let her out. She's like, absolutely not, blah, 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 blah. Enzo, once again, comes to Nina, who just picked up Cecilia from camp and is like, or from school? Either way, just picks Cecilia up and she's like, we're going to Disneyland. She's like, we're going away. Daddy's not coming with us. We're leaving this dump. And Enzo's like, listen, if you're gonna leave, you have to go check on Millie. Like, this is not okay. She says she'll do it under one condition, and we don't know that condition yet, but she does go back, and at some point, apparently Millie's not in the home. She goes to check on everybody. She's assuming that Millie is still in the attic. She doesn't know if Millie got out or not. So Nina digs the key to the attic door out of my purse. I fit the key into the lock and let the door swing open. Oh, wait, I am right. But the 2 light bulbs are flickering on the ceiling. There's enough light, though, to see Andy. Or what used to be Andy, that is. For a solid 60 seconds, all I can do is stare. Hello, Nina. I whirl around and there she is, Millie, holding up a bottle of pepper spray pointed at my face. Put the pepper spray down. I'm not going to hurt you, I promise. Andrew has been locked in the attic for 5 or 6 days. Millie has lost count. And he is dead. Nina is like, how long has he been dead? And Millie's like, honestly, I was too scared to check. I thought he was playing dead. So I just left him in there for a really long time. Sure enough, Nina checks. No pulse. Millie is like, fuck. Like, yay, but also, damn it, I'm going back to prison, aren't I? And that's when I make up my mind. No, Millie, you're not going to prison. Why? Because you weren't even here. You're going to leave. I'll tell the police I was here all week. I'll say I gave you the week off. And Nina's assuming they're just going to send her to the psychiatric hospital, right? She's like, I've already been accused of trying to kill somebody before. We'll be fine. Millie dips. She disappears down the stairs, leaving me alone in the house. Just me and Andy, staring up at the ceiling with his dead eyes. And there's only one thing left to do. I pick up my phone and call the police. What if she tries to frame Enzo? Oh, I hope not. The police are looking over the scene. She calls Enzo and she's basically like, I'm fucked. Like, he died of dehydration, but they assume I put him there. So I'm in trouble. I could end this. I could tell them about Millie, but I won't. And Enzo is like, listen, I'll testify for you. Like, we might not have proof, but like, I know that he tortured you. She has left Cece with Enzo, Cecilia with Enzo. When she talks to the police, she says that she thought Andrew was on a business trip and that's why she didn't notice he was missing. But them breaking up kind of works out because she's like, I thought he was on a business trip. And then the police are like, yeah, but we heard that you guys broke up. And she's like, yes, That's why I wasn't home. Like, that's why I didn't notice anything amiss, is because I moved out. I got kicked out last week. So why would I be here? And also, like, because of the torture that, like, the balancing of the books that Millie forced Andrew to do, his whole body, his lower body is bruised. So they're like, so a grown man locked himself in an attic without his phone and then, like, got horribly bruised all over his body. And she's like, listen, I wasn't there, you know? Yes. Oh my God. Okay. No, this is great. So the detective is like, does that sound like something a grown man would do, right? Like locking himself, whatever. She's like, actually, you don't know him. So he could be. And the detective is like, well, I might not know him, but my daughter does. Ahem. Remember how he said that he was engaged before, right before he met Nina? Her name was Kathleen, okay? I never knew him personally, Detective Connors says, but my daughter did. Her name is Kathleen. Actually, small world. She and your husband were engaged a long time ago. He lowers his voice several notches. The breakup was rough on her. She wouldn't talk about it. Still won't. She moved far away after that and even changed her name. She hasn't been out on a date with a man since. I always wondered what exactly Andrew Winchester did to my daughter. So when I transferred out here a year ago, I started poking around. Thought it was interesting that you claimed he'd locked you in an attic, but nobody could verify that your story was real. Although truthfully, looks like nobody really tried. The Winchesters used to have a lot of pull out here before they moved to Florida, especially with some of the cops, but not with me. My mouth is too dry to get any words out. My jaw just hangs open. If you ask me, he said, that attic's a hazard. Seems like it's far too easy to get locked up there. He leans back. It's a shame what happened to your husband. I'm sure my buddy in the coroner's office will also agree. It'll have to be a cautionary tale, won't it? Yes, I finally manage. A cautionary tale. Detective Connors gives me one last long look, and I realize something incredible. I'm not going to walk out of here in handcuffs. After all. What? The mom, now they're at the funeral, they're at the wake, and Enzo is not moving with them. She asked, Nina was like, do you want to come move to California with me and Cece? And Enzo was like, no, you deserve a clean break. I don't think you should be dating anybody right now. I'm going to stay here, okay? So not only was Andrew bruised, but Millie made him pull out one of his teeth because she's cool like that, okay? So at the wake, the Winchester, his parents, Andrew's parents, approach Cece, approach Nina, and she's expecting them to be like, oh my God, we know that you killed our son. Like, you better watch your back, girl. But the dad is like, listen, if you ever need anything, let us know. And then the mom is like, I heard about his missing teeth. And Nina's like, okay, this is where she's gonna tell me. She knows I killed her son, okay? But instead she says, I always told him how important dental hygiene is. I told him he had to brush every night, and when he didn't, there would be a punishment. Because there's always a punishment when you break the rules. If you don't take care of your teeth, she continues, then you lose the privilege to have teeth. Andy knew that. He knew that was my rule. When I pulled out one of his baby teeth with pliers, I thought he understood. Such a shame, he says, that he never really learned. I'm glad you stepped up, Nina, and taught him a lesson. My jaw is hanging open as Evelyn makes one last adjustment to her son's white shirt collar. Then she walks out of the funeral home, leaving me behind. We've got an epilogue, people. We've got 2 more pages. Okay? I'm pretty sure this is just leading us into the next book. Oh. So the epilogue is Millie is getting hired again. She's having a little interview with someone that Nina recommended to her. She's going to be another housemaid again. And the mom is like, I just need help with like laundry, blah, blah, blah. And she's like in the kitchen playing with the knife rack. And finally she's like, so do you think, like, does this sound like a good idea to you? And she kind of moves in a way that Millie notices bruises on her. And she's like, yeah, Nina said that you were so great. Do you think you could work for me? And she's like looking at the bruises, and Millie's like, you know what? Yeah, I absolutely think I could work for you. So is Millie going to become like a husband killer, because that's great for her. That's wonderful. Anyway, there it is. Finish the book. Well. We did it, everybody. I don't know what to do about this. Like, that'll have to be good enough. We've got great sun in my living room, which is a blessing and a curse. All right, finish the book. Am I proud that I knew that the prologue was in Nina's POV? Yes, I am. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think the twist was quite that twisty. Maybe because I grew up having seen Gone Girl and things like that. I wasn't super shocked. There also just weren't that many characters to choose from. We really only had 3 people that we were working with the whole time. So it was just kind of a triangle of like who killed each other, and then randomly Enzo has the biceps of a man who could kill me. I don't know. You know what? I get why people read these. They're very quick to read, rather fast moving, but it wasn't really thrilling. I think the first like 2 or 3 chapters were really good, but then after that it was just kind of so ridiculous. Like, who would stay? I get that she was really desperate. I understand why she stayed to work with Nina, but like Nina was so over the top crazy. But yeah, I mean, the writing wasn't great. Like I said, it was very choppy writing, and even though it was in first person, I feel like I don't really understand Millie a whole lot. Anyway, it wasn't horrible. I think it would make a good movie, but it just felt a little too Gone Girl-y to me. Did you guess it? I really thought that we were going to have like more twists and turns, so that's why I was excited for this video, is for us to like be constantly guessing and constantly being wrong. I honestly wish I had filmed it for All Her Fault, because I was constantly trying to figure out who done it, because there was such a large cast of characters. I think that's what I like in a thriller or a mystery, is when there's just so many people that are so shitty. This was just 3.5 shitty people. So okay, that wasn't too hard to figure out. It's always blame the man is how I go about things. Let me know your thoughts. Have you read any of her other books? I have a feel like it's not really my style, but if you have one that you thought the twist, or like any thriller, if you thought the twist really got you, let me know, and I would love to have like a monthly murder club or something like that. Yeah, happy to have spent the day with you with this, and apologies to Cecilia for being creepy. I still don't know why she was so mean. Like, she didn't have to be. She could have been a super nice girl and it wouldn't have changed the plot. I don't think, like, it wouldn't have changed like Millie and Andrew's falling in love trajectory. If anything, I think that Cecilia being nicer to Millie would have made Millie like want to be her mom and like take over Nina's position even more. So I don't know why Cecilia was such a brat, other than like it just helped the story to make you think, oh, maybe Nina's actually a really bad mom. I don't know. But anyway, there it is, the housemaid. I wonder, like, does it continue? Is she always the housemaid in these books? I'm not sure. But anyway, there it is. I read it so you don't have to. I'm so happy that we solved that. And I'm so glad that Andrew's dead. What can I say? And the divorce papers weren't filed yet, I'm pretty sure, so I hope Cecilia got all of the money. I don't know how prenups work with death, but I just hope she lives a happy, happy life. That is the end. This was just like a fun little bonus episode. And I will see you guys next time for like more structured content. But yeah, let me know if you have a mystery that needs solving. I'll be happy to help. See you guys next time. Okay, bye.